Informative presentations. Informative presentations are a common feature on the job. You may be called upon to update your boss on the status of your project, to relay information to your teammates you learned from a customer survey, or to teach your coworkers how to use a new software system. In each of these scenarios, whether they are formal or informal, the basic principles of informative presentations will help you organize your remarks. These principles are also the building blocks for persuasive presentations. Briefings are short talks that give already interested and knowledgeable audience members the specific information they need to do their jobs. Although used for many purposes, all briefings share the following characteristics. Length. As the name suggests, most briefings are short, usually no more than 2 to 3 minutes on a given subject. Organization. Because of their brevity, briefings usually do not require the kinds of attention-grabbing introductions or conclusions. They are organized simply, usually topically or chronologically. Content. Briefings may summarize a position, but they do not make complex arguments in its favor. Most briefing attendees already know why they are there, and the main focus should be getting them ready to complete the job at hand. Presentation aids. Some briefings may include simple visual aids, but they rarely contain the kind of detail found in longer and more complex presentations. Language and delivery. Because of their informal nature, briefings are usually quite conversational. Delivery is more matter-of-fact than dramatic. In a report, you give your audience an account of what you or your team has learned or done. Reports come in an almost endless variety. While reports can be delivered either in person or in writing, we will focus on strategies for organizing the reports you deliver orally. An organization's culture determines the manner in which you should present a report. Brief or elaborate, formal or informal, with or without visual aid, and question and answer sessions, and so on. The most common type of informative presentation is the status report, sometimes called a progress report. You will gain your audience's appreciation and boost your credibility by presenting a brief, clear summary of the situation. Review the project's purpose. State the current status of the project. Identify any obstacles you have encountered and attempts you have made to overcome those obstacles. Describe your next milestone and forecast the future of the project. As its name suggests, a final report is delivered upon completion of an undertaking. Introduce the report, provide necessary background, describe what happened, describe the results, and then tell listeners how to get more information. A feasibility report evaluates one or more potential action steps and recommends how the organization should proceed. Briefly define the problem and explain its consequences. Introduce the standards you use to evaluate alternative courses of action. Describe the process you use to identify and evaluate the plan under consideration. Provide a detailed explanation of each solution you considered. Measure the suitability of each solution against the criteria you listed earlier. Describe the solution that best fits the criteria provided earlier. And briefly summarize your findings, showing how they can help solve the problem at hand. Training teaches listeners how to do something. It can be formal or informal. Successful business recognizes the value of training. Successful training presentation begins long before you face your audience. When you analyze the audience, the occasion, and your own goals and knowledge about the topic. Most training experts agree about the importance of the following steps. Define the training goal, develop a schedule and a list of resources, involve the audience, and organize your presentation. When you are ready to deliver the training, take advantage of the following tips to make it most effective. Link the topic to the audience, start with the overall picture, emphasize the organization of your material, and cover only necessary information. Sometimes you will be introducing trainees to specialized terms and language. Some jargon is necessary, but avoid using more than necessary so they don't become overwhelmed. Research shows that people have the best chance of understanding new material when it bears some relationship to information they already know. Without a familiar reference point, listeners may have trouble understanding even a clear definition. Webinars or web-based seminars are a type of virtual meeting commonly encountered in business settings. Webinar sessions typically run 45 to 60 minutes in length and are viewed in real time. Sessions are recorded and emailed to participants and/or uploaded online for additional on-demand viewing. There are many uses for webinars, including training, product demonstration, corporate communications, e-learning, lead generation, customer retention, reputation management, and providing association members with content. The following tips will help you design and present an effective webinar that will keep your participants interested. Identify a topic. Since you usually have less than an hour to present material and reach your goal for the webinar, it is important to narrow your content down to a specific topic. Select an engaging speaker and host. Webinars should have a host who will welcome the audience, introduce the speaker, ensure that the speaker stays on topic, open the floor to questions, and conclude the session. Choose an organizational format. 5 organizational formats are typically used for webinars. Design an interactive session. There are several ways to ensure that a webinar is engaging to participants. First, use several forms of media in addition to the presentation slide deck and/or video of the presenter. Think of ways to keep your audience interested throughout the presentation, such as inviting participants to ask questions or inserting links to additional information. Prepare for questions. When utilizing the presentation, panel, or product demonstration format, it is important to decide when questions will be allowed and how they will be handled. It is the responsibility of the speaker and the host to set the tone for the flow of the presentation. A press conference or news conference is a meeting organized with the purpose of sharing important information about an organization with the media and giving journalists an opportunity to ask questions. Several considerations should be taken into account when planning an effective press conference. Choose a newsworthy story. Press conferences should be reserved for major newsworthy announcements. A story is considered newsworthy if it is timely, affects many people, happens locally or to people with whom the audience relates, happens to a famous person or a notable organization, and has human interest. Determine a time and location. The main audience for a press conference is the media, which makes it important to research the deadlines of journalists whom you are inviting and schedule the event accordingly. Press conferences can be held in a meeting room or on location. When considering a location, ensure that it is within a reasonable traveling distance, is free of noise distractions, and meets technical requirements such as adequate seating for journalists or ample room for TV cameras. Send a news release or media advisory. Invitations in the form of a news release or media advisory should be sent to journalists who have an interest in your news or event announcement at least 24 hours in advance. Select speakers and rehearse. Similar to a webinar, press conferences need a host to introduce speakers and facilitate the question and answer session. It is helpful to limit the event to 2 speakers to reduce the risk of communicating inconsistent information.